Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my! It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Psychic medium Helene Olsen and paranormal researcher Patricia Baker. Here are Supernatural Girls.
Everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. You can find us at supernaturalgirlswithz.com. Please go on over and put your name right on that newsletter list. My fabulous partner in crime, Patricia Baker, absolutely produces a beautiful newsletter of upcoming guests every single week, and there's plenty of information and discounts on there for you to enjoy. I am Helene Olsen, and you can find me at angelslighthouse.com. Please also put your name on my list so that you can get my future upcoming events and classes that I hold online. But tonight is a little bit bittersweet because it is my last night broadcasting with Patricia Baker, and next week she will be introducing her new co-host, the amazing Becky Andreasen, who has a long history of psychic ability and all kinds of interesting experiences in her life. Welcome, Patricia.
Oh, Helene, it is a bittersweet moment here because I've so loved working with you on the show, and I know you're being called in other directions, so it's wonderful to have worked with you all this time. I think back on all of our experiences. My goodness, starting in mid-March, we have just met some of the most amazing people and have had some incredible experiences with all of our guests. So it'll be sad to see you go, and at the same time, I'm happy that Becky is joining the staff. So it's going to be a big change and also more excitement coming in. I don't know if I can stand it.
Well, I love Becky, and she's awesome. I love Becky. She's awesome. And the thing is that, you know, you can only do so many things inside of 1 week the way time is flying. So I've had to kind of streamline and pull back a little bit. I have a lot of responsibility with my family as well. So it's the way it's time for me to sort of reorganize myself here, Patricia. But I hope I can come back and visit sometime.
You better. We're going to count on you for readings and coming in and giving your insights on everything for people. That they count on that for you. So definitely you're going to be coming back.
Fun. Yeah, it'll be fun. But do you know that tonight is just almost, not quite, but in the top 5 favorite nights of the year for me?
Because of the clocks being turned back?
Yeah, it's just this psychological illusion that I'm gaining an hour somehow.
See, it's so funny because
I like to delude myself in that one. I know.
Oh, my goodness.
You told me that. Yeah.
I can't stand it. It's like, please don't make us turn the clocks back. I just feel so weird. It's like, just leave
I love
time
it. I
alone.
reveled for 3 days. 3 days, I think I have an extra hour. You know, you really don't have anything, but...
No. I say,
how I
for
feel
me...
about it.
It's so funny that you like it. It gives me a totally different perspective because I feel like, 5 o'clock, it's dark. Okay, time to put my PJs on and just go to bed. The day is over. So to me, it seems so strange to be doing that and to see darkness so early. I don't like it.
Yeah, but you know what, Patricia? I have horrible problems with jet lag, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So I think it's, when we spring ahead in April, and we have to push that clock ahead an hour, it bothers me for 3 days that I lost an hour or something.
Oh, my gosh.
It's just a mind game, that's all. But
it is. You're right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. But I like it, so. Do you have any paranormal news tonight, Patricia?
Oh, my goodness. Do I ever? There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world today. Actually,
sure
Becky
is.
gave me the story, and I was reading about it, and it's very unusual. In the Netherlands, water has turned blood red overnight in this canal, and nobody can figure out why. So they're hypothesizing that it might be because there's been a lot of drought there, and a certain type of bacteria has proliferated, and they just don't know. So they're telling everybody stay away from it. But I watched all the videos about it, and it's red. I mean, it is absolutely red water, and of course that's in the Bible prophecies and other prophecies in the end of days. So there's that going on in the Netherlands, and on top of that, we have another interesting expedition that they believed in Ecuador. They have found the lost city of giants. So
really?
Yes.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, this one is fairly new that this has come out, but they've discovered, I guess, these pyramid-like structures, but what has pointed them in this direction is that the tools that they found would be extremely difficult for a normal-sized human to use in any practical fashion. So these are tools that they've uncovered that were made for people much larger than us.
But no skeletons yet.
No skeletons, but there was a gentleman who did have access to a relic of, it was actually a finger that's enormous. And so there's that relic that they believe is connected to these giants of the past. And then, of course, the indigenous people who have in their oral history stories about the giants. So, all of this is starting to come together, and who knows, they may actually find some skeletons in the jungle, but at least they have now found these pyramid structures and these tools. So that is very interesting stuff.
Fascinating. Have they gotten into the pyramids yet, or are they just excavating
They're
them
on the outside right now, from what I've read. I mean, maybe they're inside, but they have not quite reported on it. But they are going in and analyzing a lot of these types of things. Apparently, the stones are pretty well preserved because they've been covered over by plants and things from the jungle and dirt. So they're just pulling everything away to see what they've got. So again, another mystery may be solved. Let's hope finally we'll discover if these giants were real.
Amazing.
Yes.
It seems like an awful lot of things have been unearthed in just the last few years.
It does seem that way, and I know there's even more to come. I mean, there's certainly a lot going on with the pyramids in Egypt. There's more going on there, but because of the unrest, who knows how much further people will get until all of that calms down, which I hope is soon.
Yeah. Well, tonight we have a fascinating guest on with
we
one of my
do.
favorite subjects, and I'm so happy that he was able to make it tonight because, angels is one of my favorite subjects. So
yes.
We have Timothy Wyllie, who wrote Revolt of the Rebel Angels and Confessions of a Rebel Angel, among other books. And what fascinates me most about Timothy is that he channeled at least Confessions of a Rebel Angel that I'm aware of from a fallen angel who was speaking to him. And I absolutely believe that. I did speak to his friend very briefly when I was listening to the last show he was on, because last time he was on I had an event and I couldn't make it.
That's right.
Yeah, so I did listen to the whole show, and he's just an amazing and fascinating person, and I'd love to get him on the air now, if that's okay with you, Patricia.
Absolutely. Bring him on. Let's talk with Timothy.
Yep.
Welcome, Timothy.
Well, thank you, and for that extraordinary effusive introduction. I really appreciate it.
Much deserved.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Well, your last show was very, very popular, and people love the subject of angels and the history of angels, and certainly your book about the history of angels and fallen angels is just fascinating. And I'm wondering if you can comment on what the gist of the Revolt of the Rebel Angels is actually about, so that people understand.
We're going to plunge right in into the revolt.
Absolutely. Now, first of all, do you have a website that people can go to?
Yes, indeed I do, yes. Just TimothyWyllie.com.
Okay.
And the Wyllie is Wyllie.
Thank you.
And I'm very easy to find on the other websites. Well, I think the first thing is probably to come to terms with the fact that we are in a sense living alongside angels, although we can't perceive them. They have really quite an influence on all our lives. This has been sort of largely occluded over the last kind of couple of hundred years, by the scientific thought, the scientific mind, which doesn't really permit. No, I shouldn't say it doesn't permit external stuff, but it doesn't really pay much attention to things that it can't measure and it can't, write up and get a grant for. So it's kind of been kind of left aside. But I think over the last, how long would you say? Maybe 50 to 70 years, perhaps. I think the angels themselves have been saying, "Hey, wait a moment, things are hotting up down there." I think we ought to sort of nudge.
Well, the expression they've used with me, Timothy, is that they're working overtime.
Yes, and they've been calling in help as well. Yes, of course.
Yes.
I mean, we are. Mm-hmm. I mean, you quoted after the late times, or I can't remember your exact phrase, but of course we are living in a time where things are coming to a crunch on so many levels, on a purely, physical level, whether it's the trees or it's the plants or the seas or the pollution in the sky. I mean, everything seems to be coming to a head. And I think that I have no real issue with that. I think that's as it's meant to be, because we are an experiment. I mean, that's a very benign way of looking at it. We're an experiment in sort of self-responsibility, self-education, how we can exist, in a sense, without being part of the larger community, either whether it's the community of the inner worlds of the angels or the outer worlds of the extraterrestrials. We've been isolated, we've been cut off, quarantined, if you like. Quarantined for the last 203,000 years. That's an awful long time in our terms, and probably a long time in the angels' terms too, although angels don't have such an acute sense of timing.
No, they don't.
Quite the same sense of, yeah, that's why I've had to wrestle with Georgia. That's the angel I work with. I just wanted to say, by the way, that I don't really. I have taken dictation. I have sort of channeled during my life, but my preference is to work collaboratively with Georgia, and that's a little more complicated. It's a little more enjoyable for me than rather just sitting and blindly writing down words. Because she kind of sets me out to sort of, look into this, do a bit of research on that, and then gives me an idea here and an idea there, and then to come up with a kind of phrase or a sentence, and we'll kind of work out paragraph by paragraph together, which is very different from just channeling. And so
she's very interactive, I have to say.
Very much so, and you see, she's using my vocabulary, if you like, and also using my knowledge base, because, if you don't really have the words to be able to describe, rather more sort of transcendent issues, then you're not much good to them. So I think, part of my training over the course of my life has been sort of to customize myself with the vernacular, with the way to express with the various different belief systems, so that in this part of my life I can work with Georgia and supply the necessary words she uses, although she still grumbles about it.
Well, I think angels, when they connect with us and are speaking to us, and I'd like you to correct me if my thought is wrong on this, but it's almost as though they're actually triggering our brains to retrieve knowledge or vocabulary or information that we already have in some way. So if they try to come through to me with very, very scientific terms and mathematical formulas and things like that, I get lost. I can't even follow it. I'm not really getting the right information. Does that make sense?
And they probably wouldn't. I think they're sensible and wise enough not to waste their time doing that. I agree entirely. And I think, my position with Georgia is just slightly different because it's something, I think I've been specifically sort of trained for, but I've had a long experience chattering away with my own guardian angels who I've been kind of working with and sort of living with for probably about 30 years now. And yes,
I think it's very different to chat with them as hearing it and working with them than it is to do automatic writing or to receive data downloads, as I call them, in your mind that's like clear thought. When you're chatting with them, I think that they're very able to give you super specific information and direction, right?
Well, yes, I was being a little fey when I said chatting. One doesn't really chat with an angel, and they can be fairly sort of stern as well as being great fun.
Yes.
And they're really, they're not here to live our lives for us or to help us necessarily live our lives. They're here to thrust us into the situations that we need in order to grow in spirit. And sometimes those situations aren't very pleasant. If one needs to be courageous, as the old joke goes, God throws you a man-eating tiger. And I think, in the same sense, that's really what the angels do in order to gain courage. They put us in situations, or they contrive situations in the very sort of...
I can vouch for that.
I think once one rejigs one's mind to kind of looking back and looking back over the course of one's life and thinking about those situations which, one really has no real explanation for, and yet somehow they worked out for the best in the end. And quite often in those situations I detect the paw, or the wing of an angel, just gently guiding us into one situation after another. And that's been my experience anyway, and I'm not different, I don't think, in any way from other people. I think we all go through this, and what level of consciousness we bring to it kind of helps us not to get so grumpy about what happens to us and not to blame other people, because we pull in these situations, our angels pull in these situations for us to grow. So it's not, we can't blame other people for it.
No.
You were going to say?
No, we're certainly not entirely, I don't think, from what I've seen, but mostly free will. And it's about choices and learning to move through whatever's in front of you. And I can't say any angels have actually thrown me under the bus, per se, but they've brought things that I haven't really wanted, and then I understood why.
Yeah.
It's all about what you need to get to the next level, I think.
Yes, exactly. It's no profit for anybody to, for them to throw us a situation which we simply can't handle. Mm-hmm. As you say, we get thrown under the bus and squashed. That's not really in anybody's interest. But, we do get a lot of situations, which are pretty confrontative. And if we do consider them as challenges to, learn or to grow or to, gain some sort of insight as to why one reacts to situations in such a, peculiarly sort of knee-jerk way, as many of us do, in fact, all of us in some way, do have a sort of a knee-jerk reaction to situations, which quite often, are from childhood and from, sort of either heavy abuse in childhood or the sort of light, abuse light that many people go through in childhood, which do leave their imprints. And these are the imprints which make it so difficult for angels to sort of make contact with us. And when I started working with the angels, it was the first thing they really did was to sort of put me in contact with a sort of shamanic way of going about it and sort of clearing these, what they call fear-impacted thought forms. That we all gather over the course of our lives, when people tell us, or whatever it is, these little, and, some very sensitive people can actually see these sort of darts sort of flying between people who are arguing. But these embed themselves in our subtle energy bodies.
Yes,
and if we
they
don't
do.
attend to them, oh, good, you know about them, good.
Oh, I clear that energy, Timothy, and it's amazing to me that what you're speaking about is very very important for people to understand, that sometimes people think that they have a negative energy with them. You can put any label on it you want, but what I really see when I look is actually thought forms.
Yes, I'm so pleased. As I said last time we were all talking on your show, I'm so pleased to be talking, with somebody who understands this sort of thing, because, a lot of people kind of run away with, as you say, with, I'm being attacked by this.
Yeah.
And a lot of sort of religious, idiocy in various different sort of belief systems is based on this. It's really just blame and projection. No, I entirely agree. Own what happens to us, and realize that the thought forms are our thought forms, and these are the demons that everyone talks about. And just a tip, by the way,
there is Timothy. There is such a thing as demons. I mean, they exist, and so do negative energies. But a lot of times it is thought forms. And what has shocked me is how someone at a very unconscious level can throw these kind of thought forms onto someone else without realizing.
We all do it. I mean, we've all put it this way. We've all done it, to one extent or another. And I mean, you can see nations doing it to each other. I mean, we watch this political farce going on of people doing it to one another. It's kind of seems to be perfectly natural and accepted. And of course, people have no idea what they're doing to each other. But I do want to go back onto this business. You say, oh well, there are demons now. I have really, I really dug into this on for many years, 40 years perhaps, and have really plunged into the depths. I've been to hell at least 25 times for various different reasons, and I have never yet met a demon. I've met thought forms. I've met thought forms that thought they were demons, that presented themselves as demons.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to look at it with that view.
You see, the question is, where would demons come from?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see, and as I say, I poked around.
Well, many times, I guess I'll have to qualify my answer about demons as saying that I see them as demons because they present in a certain visual way, but oftentimes those demons are being called by the person who's being beleaguered themselves.
Well, true, and personified.
And so maybe if I take it to another level and say, well, maybe these are also created by the people who are calling them themselves, I can see that perspective.
Well, you're quite right, but let me just sort of embroider that a little bit, because yes, I mean, I have as I think I might have said last time, I have a personal experience where, not being a particularly jealous person in my life, I was in a situation where a girlfriend really set out to make me jealous. And I did. I became jealous. And I got really quite jealous about it.
Really?
But after about a night or two of being really jealous and not sleeping, I suddenly felt incredibly jealous. Oh, my God, I want to get that girl. And, of course, what I realized was that my own little jealousy that I had made had attracted the thought form of jealousy, which is hanging around in the ethers, right? Which is fed, as you say, fed by all of our jealousies. And not only that, has been fed by everybody's jealousy that has been jealous. So it's a formidable entity.
Okay.
But it is only a thought form. And a tip about thought forms is that you can dissolve a thought form with a beam of love directed from your heart. You can dissolve a thought form. And that's how you can tell the difference between a thought form and an angel who is dressing up as a baddie just to spook you out. No, I don't believe demons. I don't believe demons per se exist, although, my goodness, I'm sure I'll get a lot of letters on that. But I do think, and I've had again a personal experience which I've written about, which is when Georgia first came to me consciously, I actually saw her as a snake. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified. Now, later I've come to understand it was my terror that was projecting the image of what I was terrified of on poor Georgie. Right?
Well, that's happened to me, too, so I know what you're talking about, Timothy.
Yeah.
I do know what you're talking about, yeah.
That's what has given the fallen angels, who have been kind of, hanging around over the years, a bad name, because I think, when they're originally perceived, they are often perceived as something terrifying.
Oh,
and
yeah.
of course, they go down in the literature as these
me.
terrifying beings. All they're coming, they're just saying, we really want to talk to you, And they're not
But
monsters.
Timothy, what was it then that helped you to truly identify Georgia as something other than the snake that terrified you? What happened that made you change that?
Oh, it was a very, very long process, probably, maybe, I would say almost like a 30-year process, a 35 or 40-year process, of her coming and going in very gentle ways. And she came to me, I think, in my late 30s in a very gentle way. And she came to me in my early 40s and in a much more, assertive way, in a sense. And then there was a period, I think I might have mentioned it last time, when she was really testing me. She said, okay, although I didn't realize it was a test at the time, she induced me to dress up as a woman and to not live as a woman, but to, go out in New York streets and, and dress as a woman. Now, I don't make the most attractive woman. I don't make the most attractive man either. But as a woman, forget about it. But that was my test, and I had to do that. I didn't have to do it, but I chose to do it, for about 3 or 4 years. It was pretty testing, as you might imagine, in New York, and produced quite a lot of interesting situations, including being absolutely horrified when people came on to me, when guys came on to me. Horrified.
Oh, my goodness.
It was such an interesting thing. And that, of course, has dropped away, about 10 years ago. I proved that I was worthy of, dealing with this terrifying idea of, sharing my life with a fallen angel. And, of course, it's been I've been testing her as well. Would she take me over? Would she not leave me when I didn't want her around? And, of course, that was equally took a long time to get me, trustworthy. So yes, it's been a long process, and I think probably for the last, I would say, 5 years, we've kind of evened it all out, and she comes and goes, and we work alongside each other. It's a wonderful thing.
What's the image that you see or do you see an image of her now? Obviously, it's different from a snake. What do you see?
I don't see. I don't try to see her. I've never really tried to see her. I feel her. I can make an image of her in my mind, of course, but I doubt if it's what she looks like. No, my senses aren't tuned highly enough. Now, when I had my near-death experience and I was lifted out of my body, yes, then I did see angels. I did see them, and they were gorgeous and beautiful. And just like you'd think they would be. Just very tall and beautiful and playing music. And almost like a sort of caricature of an angel. Mm-hmm. I mean, presumably I was projecting my caricature of what I thought an angel would look like on them, too. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty much the same. Every angel you'd ever see, drawn by humans. Curious.
Yes,
I think their appearance is triggered in our mind as to what we expect them to look like.
Or what we can handle.
Yeah, but over the many, many centuries, angels have been triggering people to see them with wings and tall and white and whatever, But actually, in seeing angelic energy, I've just seen it as plain, pure energy, like a ball with rays. As opposed to a human figure with wings. But they are pure energy is what it really comes down to.
Well, we could argue how pure the energy is, of course.
Well, I mean, just energy, as opposed to being a human form. As opposed to being a human form. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my two guardian angels, the only time I've ever perceived them with my my sort of, my senses, as opposed to my sort of super senses, was during my near-death experience. And in that case, I just perceived them as being very tall, like 20-foot towers of sort of light, heat or, energy and something like that, which was kind of equivalent, I guess, to your visualization of a ball of energy or whatever. I think they do have bodies. I mean, I'm sure they have bodies in their own, reality, their own frequency domain, as they call it. But what they look like, well, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So tell us what Revolt of the Rebel Angels is about.
Sure. Well, the first thing to, having now established that, we, live alongside or work with angels, we can understand that there is this inner worlds which are, in a sense, we reach through our imaginations, which are two-way mirrors, our imaginations. They can reflect something that we want to see, but they can also transmit something that's coming through from the other side. So now we can sort of appreciate that, we're part of something much larger, because obviously if one has a near-death experience, you step out into another reality. It's people, the essences and elements out there. So it's not a question of the imagination, it's a question of the reality of this sort of stacked level of frequency domains, each one slightly either more stronger or weaker. It's disputable which way it goes. But anyway,
but let me ask you, Timothy, because we're kind of grouping all the angels together, and what do you perceive the difference to be between a fallen angel and another kind of angel? What's the difference?
Oh, well, yes. In a sense, I was coming to that because we have to get to that to understand really what this revolt of the rebel angels was about. But let me just tack back to the idea that we are a very well-organized planet, although we don't think we are. We're extremely well-organized on the angelic level, in a sense that we're exactly where we're meant to be. We're doing exactly what we've always been meant to do, which experience what being a human being is like, all the pluses and minuses, all the challenges and everything of being a human being. That's what human beings, that's what mortal beings do on planets. Now, these planets have to be overseen on the inner levels by sort of angelic overseers, if you like, angelic princes, to give them one sort of word. And the universe within this sort of frame is divided into these fairly small sort of divisions of 1,000 inhabited planets. And the overseers of these 1,000 inhabited planets, one of which is ours, they went into rebellion against the much larger overseer that I call the multiverse administration. Okay, so we have this rebellion, which, as I say, happened 200, 3,000 years ago, that split off the small number of planets that identified with the rebellion, which is only 37 of the 1,000 planets. Okay, so it's not a very large affair, but it's a very formidable affair if you're sitting on one of the 37 planets, which we are, of course. So the names, I don't know, given to, we given these names, or whether they claim the names and we pick them up, who knows. But the names given are Lucifer and Satan. These are the two angelic overseers of this particular segment of the universe. Right? These were the pair that went into revolt. Right? But they also took a lot of angels along with them, because they weren't entirely wrong. Right? Their approach was, listen, the universe, the multiverse administration, you're getting tired, you're getting old, you are centralized, we need more personal responsibility, we need more power of choice, we need to get away from this particular thing. Now, the universe, if you like, the administration did not like this. I mean, no administration likes a rebellion. So they really sort of, put up a fight. And equally, the angels themselves got more and more insulted by being misunderstood and broke away. And in response, the administration then isolated this particular segment of the very small segment of the universe from, if you like, from extraterrestrial comings and goings, and also, in a sense, dumbed us down a little bit so we weren't aware of the presence of angels in our lives. And that's been going on, for, as I say, for this extremely long time.
So they separated us, is what you're saying.
They did, yes. Quarantined us, if you like. They say to stop the rebellion from spreading, but I don't think it was for that at all. Mm-hmm. And part of the examination I'm doing is, to try and decode, what really was that about, what really was going on, because this planet is a very, very strange and extraordinary little world, and a very privileged one in many ways, and privileged because we're so dreadful, not because we're so wonderful. Privileged because we can somehow survive, this dreadful situation we've got ourselves into, where everything is collapsing around us. But my goodness, they say, it's making us strong. And those of us who can kind of move into having faith in the God, not sort of collapsing. Oh my goodness, we're just a sort of pinprick in the middle of a meaningless universe that doesn't care about us. Of course, we're deeply cared about, and we're approaching a very key situation. Nobody knows when it's going to happen, but the way it's going here, it couldn't get much worse. So I think, looking at it that way, I don't think the universe is meant to be cruel on this sort of level. So I think that we're due for a big change. No.
Well, Timothy, let me ask you this question, because when you described the rebellion, this revolt, it didn't sound like a bad thing. I mean, it really just sounded like a disagreement, that the angels, a group of angels, felt that they should have more authority to make their own decisions. I mean, it just doesn't sound evil. It doesn't sound dark. It doesn't sound... It just doesn't sound bad. It sounds just like a disagreement would be between responsible adults. So I am finding this fascinating in the way you're talking about it, versus the way we may have been taught through religion or whatever, that they did a terrible thing. They went against God and wanted to do something of their own. And, it's a totally different perspective, the way you present this, which I like. It's very interesting.
Well, thank you. And I suppose I came to me in the middle of what you say, but I guess it depends who you ask. like a lot of rebellions, it depends who you ask. Yes, of course. I mean, the universe, the administration their noses were tremendously put out by the whole thing. These sort of rebellions are very rare. In fact, this is only the third in this particular local universe, which is a much larger section, So they're very rare, and I think they probably, bad for the reputation of the guys who are in charge at the time they happen. So they don't like them. And it's hard to decode exactly whether it's they're overstating, in the way that, we have overstated how dreadful the enemies were, or, how awful our enemies are. It's not an unnatural thing to demonize your enemies. But I think that a certain amount of that. But also, unfortunately, there are a number of other offshoots, if you like, of the rebellion, which made it much more difficult, and that is that all these 37 planets, right, basically are taken care of on the angelic level. They have what are called the planetary princes, and there are a couple of them, and they didn't come that recently. They came about 500,000 years ago, and they're basically in charge of the first of the great sort of interventions, that came from the inner worlds. They weren't extraterrestrial. They were from the inner worlds and had their bodies made for them, blah, blah, blah. Right? So these guys basically look after the sort of the angelic level of bringing up mortal populations, gradually sort of moving them up through, the various different intelligences. They're responsible for that. Now, in the case of these 37 planets, the planetary princes all sided with the rebels, right? And the sad thing is that we got one, right, Prince Calicastia, who really did go a little balmy. I mean, it really went crazy. I think the power went to his head. And, we've got a lot of the recipients of, the troubles that we have in our lives, especially on the sort of larger macro level, are due to the imprints of what was left, by him. I mean, he really basically created an atomic war in the Middle East in about 80,000 years before Christ. I mean,
so it sounds like you're describing somebody who is really overtaken by what we would call ego, and just went nuts and had no restraint, and like you said, acted like a madman. So he did not have the wisdom of Solomon. He did not think about the whole and everybody's best interest. He was just self-serving. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure in his own mind, he had his own sort of reasons and justifications, for doing what he did. We're an unruly crowd on this planet. A lot of planets of the third density planets like us, right, do not have quite the level of predation, right, in the early, the complexity of the early life with the various predation that was around when human beings were sort of just growing out of out of their animal natures. We were really a fearful, terrified species, terrified of our own shadows, and rightfully so, because a tiger could jump out from the bush at any moment,
Mm-hmm.
So
he would be their dinner. So yes.
I beg your pardon?
You would become their dinner.
Well, yes, indeed, and of course, frequently it is, and it was up and down business. So when these guys arrived, to sort of teach us, as it were, the first crowd arrived 500,000 years ago. That's when Georgia arrived. My angel arrived as well at that time. So she's got a long story to tell. They had a lot to struggle with, and the rebellion didn't happen immediately at all. They'd been on the planet for, almost 300,000 years, but it was not an easy thing for them. It was always a struggle, and I think probably one of the reasons so many of them sided with Lucifer was that they did really think that things could be accelerated, And, it's a moot point. But there are many other factors, much more important factors, which, of course, was the groundwork was being prepared for the arrival of Jesus, who, is a very, very singularly important figure, not the God by any means, but a sort of a creative being, of course, and a creative being of the physical plane of, reality that we live in. Together with the Mother Spirit, they created.
Well,
together.
I love to talk about Jesus and his energy and why he's here or came, but we're going to take a break right now, Timothy, and we'll come back to continue this fascinating discussion. It's awesome.
Good.
And anybody who has a question for Timothy, please call in at 646-478-0828. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the Source. With Cosmic Fusion, the Source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion. www.kosmicfusion.com to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Thank you for staying tuned and welcome back. You can call your questions in at 646-478-0828 as we continue our fascinating discussion with author Timothy Wyllie. And yes, Patricia, that was my fault on the commercial. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'm beating on the button and nothing happens, and sometimes I just slide the cursor and there it goes.
I know.
So it
can be tricky. Don't worry about it.
I apologize.
It's tricky, I know.
Oh, my. Yeah, well, what can you do? Well, we were just talking about Jesus being on the planet, Timothy, and it's such an incredible subject. Tell us what you know or what you have perceived has gone on with his arrival.
Well, I can't quite. Are you suggesting that Jesus is on the planet right now? Is that?
No, I'm saying when he did arrive, 2000.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't fussing on that one. Well, yes. I mean, I had a real struggle with Jesus. I mean, I basically from the age of 10 or 11 was an atheist, and you know, I really came more directly to the God, you know, of my heart. You know, the great God of whom we all serve, including Jesus, of course. Mm-hmm. We're all sons of that God. Mm-hmm. You know, in my search of the various different cosmologies, you know, when I came across the Urantia book, I really did have a deep recognition that because the fourth book of the Urantia series is the life and times of Jesus as told by the angels who accompanied him. Yeah. So since I'd had my near-death experience, I knew angels were real, you know, so I took it quite seriously. And, of course, it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of writing of them. The insight's extraordinary. And, you know, you get a wonderful intellectual sense of Jesus. But I still hadn't had the emotional sense that I had then. I lived in Israel for a time, and I actually wrote my first book in Israel and spent some time hanging out there. And in a sense, from the very ground itself, I really got the true feeling, of the entity, and understood who he was and why he was here and what he was doing. Now, what the Arantxa book tells us, and I have no reason to disbelieve it, is that Jesus is the manifestation, if you like, of Christ Michael, the creator, son of this little segment of the universe. A very important being, but not the great God that I think a lot of Christians confuse him with. A creator God for all that. And they say that any creator God of a local universe, and I should say there are 100,000 of these local universes. I mean, there are a lot of them. Actually, there are more than that, 700,000 of them. So there are a lot of these local universes. Is required to do an incarnation or do a lifetime or do a manifestation or whatever it is in every one of his levels of his created beings, which means he does a sort of a turn as a Melchizedek, and he does a turn as a guardian angel, and various different levels.
Different levels of the hierarchies, yeah.
Different levels of the hierarchy, absolutely. And a hierarchy, of true knowledge and power, not a hierarchy of, people who pay their way to get into it.
No,
a true hierarchy, obviously. And the seventh level is that of a mortal being. Now he has basically, he has 10 million planets he can choose from. No, not all of them would have been kind of, in the right sort of place and the right time. But anyway, for whatever reason, this was the planet he chose. And he manifested as Joshua, Ben Joseph, son of Joseph, on this planet for his, whatever it was, 39 years, I think. And then moved along. When we get over, how does he compare with Buddha? How does he compare with blah, blah, blah? And it really is a silly question because he's more pervasive than that. I mean, he
Hello? Uh-oh, Patricia.
All mortals have.
No, there he is. He's back.
You faded out for a moment.
Yeah, we lost it for a second there, Timothy.
Yeah. Ah, right. I don't know where you lost me, but I think I was going on about the fact that, he's present in all of us. Whether we're, Buddhist or Jew or whatever, it's the Jesus in our hearts, along with the great God. I mean, we're a multitude of beings, if we knew it.
Well, have you heard from angels that each human has a spark of God energy in their soul?
Yes, with the provider, humans of right mind, if you like. I'm not sure whether really, people who are really crazy do actually have that. I don't know that they could sustain the spark of God, or that the spark of God would be that interested in manifesting within that framework.
I see. But do you think that the souls sometimes come from other places, and so they wouldn't have the same spark of God?
I differentiate the soul from the spark of God. The soul is something different. No, they would most likely have a soul, but they might not have a spark of God. Angels don't have the spark of God, for instance. I mean, that's one of the reasons they love us so much.
Yes, it's true. I know that.
So they serve the God that lives inside us. In a sense, they don't really serve us per se. They serve the God that lives inside us. Of course, as we move up through, after death, and we go through the various different realms, we do fuse with this God aspect. So, in many ways, we're sort of godlets, godlets in the making, which is why we get put through it, put through the ringer. Yeah,
well, I can see that. Yeah. But I'm wondering if you think. Oh, go ahead, Patricia.
No, I was just saying this is so deep. I'm sitting here silently, just trying to get my mind around all the different aspects of what you're saying, Timothy, it's really powerful stuff. I mean, this is the first time that I really heard this out loud, that angels don't have the spark of God. So I'm still back there thinking about that. That's really amazing to me. And then you said, but that's why they love us so much, because we have the spark of God, except if possibly you're saying people who are insane may not have that because they couldn't sustain it. So that's another interesting differentiation that you're making. I'm just fascinated by everything you're saying here tonight.
Well, it seems like to me, Timothy, that some other beings around the universe crave our energy because we have the spark of God. Do I have that right or wrong?
No, they have the spark of God as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's necessary to say they crave our energy. Do you have examples of this from your own experience?
Well, I guess I'm particularly talking about ETs sometimes.
Okay.
That they seem to be attracted by human energy.
Well, they're attracted by some kinds of human energy. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that the Nazis were able to attract a particular subsection of the Greys, who were really sort of rather naughty, basically pushed another group of extraterrestrials to get hold of us and feed us even better anti-grav stuff. When they came through in the 40s and 50s, Roswell and stuff like that. So extraterrestrials who are interested in reaching us are generally not that high. Firstly, it's painful down here. A lot of extraterrestrials simply can't. I read of a crowd that arrived, I think, in the late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in the south of France. And they spent 10 minutes here. 10 minutes. And they come, whatever, how many light years? 10 minutes. And then
they ran screaming into the night. It was like that bad.
Yeah, they get me off. They take me to your leader. Get me off here.
Right.
And even relatively recently, with a bunch of walk-ins. I was living in New York, and I set up this show for this bunch of walk-ins. They were very good with sound. They could manipulate sound, and it would sort of make people's bodies change and alter. And I set up a show for them in New York, and they came into New York, all flew in, all very excited. They lasted, I think, half a day before they had to get tickets to get out of here. They couldn't stand New York. They couldn't stand the energy. We really live in a sea of fear. We have no idea of the energies that we live in, because we've become acclimated. We've become accustomed to it. But for somebody coming in with a pretty clean slate, it's pretty awful, pretty agonizing. And they're very brave to do it,
So what was it that drew them here? What was the interest level for them?
The guys, the sound guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the ETs come here, they can't stand it for very long. But what's the attraction?
Michael's planet.
Mm-hmm.
On one level, it's the most important planet in the 10 million in this local universe. And, one of the things that everybody knows and everybody heard, and that is that Jesus said, like somebody else said, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back. And by God, he will be back, because what Jesus said, Jesus does. And Michael will be back. And I think that's part of the great show that we're coming up to, really, I think probably in our lifetimes. As I said earlier, things can't get much worse. So I think that we're looking, what I call the big show is really kind of, rejoining the galactic community. It's kind of extraterrestrials, fully accepted. And I think we'll get a kind of a, it's awfully hard to predict. Whatever you try to predict, of course, God is so much cleverer. But I think it's going to be a sort of everybody back at the same time. Jesus and all the big guys, everybody will come back in a great sort of parade, I think, of some sort. Something that is, everybody can look at and say, my God, all right, forget Buddhism, forget Judaism, forget Christianity. This is what we're talking about, I think something that just is so utterly, this appeals to every level of one's intelligence. That one realizes, yes, this is it. And I think, of course, life will change before we move. We should be moving from the third density to fourth density fairly soon. And I say, you see, we think we're living in a sort of solid, all this solid matter all around us, but of course it isn't solid matter. It's just a reality. It can be switched. It can be changed. We do it all the time with ourselves. We perceive reality differently. So. It's very easily sort of made into something else, and I think the fourth density is a higher level of frequency, and I think it will impel, if you like, the goodness more than the badness, if you like. I mean, we always do need these polarities, because we live in a dualistic system, and I mean, dualism does go a long way up. We don't suddenly, angels still live in a dualistic situation. I mean, obviously they have to. Mm-hmm. There's always up and down, and here and there, and hot and cold.
Yeah, you're talking about the fourth density, but a lot of light workers talk about the fifth.
Well, yes, it's a somewhat tricky area. Some people feel that the fourth is a transitional realm between fourth and fifth. Fifth is really how I see it, or how I understand it, is really the angelic realm. The fifth dimension, or the fifth chakra, is basically the access to the angelic realm. Mm-hmm. Is through the fifth chakra, hearing with the ears of the throat, if you like.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the energy, or Christed energy, is still traveling around the planet connecting with people? Or do you think that that's just something that people fabricate in their minds?
Well, I think if I may say, it's a somewhat simplistic way of looking at it. I think we all possess the Christ energy, whether, as I say, whether we know it or not, or whether we ascribe it to something else. Mm-hmm. I mean, a person who loves money, it doesn't really matter it's money they love. It's the love that's important. Mm-hmm. Now, the fact is that you can't love money as much as you can love a little animal. You can't love a little animal as much as you can love your wife, and you can't love your wife as much as you can love God. Because everything opens up more and more,
Yes.
And in a sense, you can only love someone to the extent they can love themselves, which is another aspect of it. And money, of course, doesn't love itself enormously.
No. Fascinating. Well, there are a lot of people who say that they are getting information from Christed energy, that they are hearing direction from Christed energy in the past 10, 15 years. Do you think this is just cosmic messages or cosmic intelligence that's coming through, or our own souls speaking to us?
I mean, it's hard to generalize because probably each situation is fairly specific. But I would say that anybody who is relatively sensitive and open-hearted can make contact with the indwelling Christ. It's not a difficult thing. So I think many, hopefully in most cases, is probably that. In some cases, of course, it may be just a projection of their own desires. And it's a tricky thing because, as I was saying earlier, cleaning out these thought forms, because we tend to clean out the sort of the bad thought forms, but of course also always the sort of the delusory sort of good thought forms, Mm-hmm. And we can kind of convince ourselves. I think if we're naive in terms of channeling or passing on information that we get from inner sources, we have to be fairly careful that we're not confusing our own desires and our own wishes. And I've seen this a lot in relationship to how a lot of my contemporaries, for instance, who know about the Urantia book, who read the Urantia book, and have very, very vindictive attitudes towards Lucifer and Satan and that crowd. And they have forgotten, in a sense, that forgiveness and mercy are much more fundamental and much more appropriate and interesting and vital.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. I see what you're saying. Yeah, fascinating. Now, where do you think it stands right now in relation to what the angelic realm is doing for the planet or for humanity?
Well, I think we've reached a very, I won't say a tipping point, although, of course, there are a series of tipping points, because I think we kind of move ahead incrementally. But one little sort of formula I use is, as the bad gets badder, the good gets gooder. And I think what we're seeing is that the opportunity for badness, just to use it as a crude way of, I don't know quite, how to define it. When we all know what we're talking about when we say badness and goodness. But the opportunity for badness is, obviously very all around us. And the more freedom we allot ourselves and other people, the more opportunity for badness and the opportunity for goodness emerges. And, of course, the more badness there is, the more there is an opportunity for the goodness to be good. And I think that's what we're really looking at with each person, because we're really, 7.3 billion individual souls who are all here as individuals. We may like to think of ourselves as communities, and we make ourselves communities, but we are living out our individual lives and working at our own salvation with diligence. I mean, there's no way around that. I think at this particular point, a lot of the societies which have been suppressed by various different measures are having the opportunity to kind of break out of that. And again, a lot of the societies, perhaps like ours and many in Europe, which are kind of overripe in a sense, and have let, corruption really kind of take over, from, a lot of people would say, well, we're just as corrupt as we ever were, but I think there has been a sort of an increase in corruption. And at the same time, of course, we're seeing this incredible opening up of all these areas. We saw the collapse of the Soviet Union, the collapse of the apartheid, the resolution in Ireland. And, if you look around, there are an extraordinary number of resolutions. And if you really look at even at Obama's record, underneath all the sort of the rubbish that's thrown up, he's done an amazing amount of really wonderful things, and hopefully will continue to do.
Yeah, because what you're talking about are wonderful opportunities for awakening.
How this is going to resolve.
Enlightenment.
I don't think it's our job to make everything fine, put it that way. Mm-hmm. If we can make ourselves fine, and our wives and our lovers and our families fine, our neighbors fine, then we're healing as we pass by. It was one of Jesus' comments. He said, heal as you pass by. And there's a depth of interest and depth of vitality in that, because so many, I find, people are so sort of involved in, the Middle East situation, getting all blah, 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 and getting worried about it. But, of course, that isn't our business. Our business is right in front of us, right now. And if they took their business right then and right, in front of them, they'd also be clearing up their mess as well. So it's really a question of all of us individually, and it begins with us as individuals clearing up our own mess. And, however good we are, there's always mess to be cleared up, because, we're always sort of, in a sense, processing stuff. We're moving stuff through us. We're alchemically sort of pulling dark energy into us if we're brave enough, and transforming it into good energy by responding in positive ways with good ideas and good feelings and compassionate reactions rather than savage ones.
Yeah, that refinement is what's going on all the time. And from what you describe in your books, it's the role of the angels to kind of push us in that direction so that we can get further along that path, and that alchemical process does occur, and we get better and better. There's so much to all of this, isn't there, Helene? There's just so many layers to all of this.
Oh, it's incredible, and I have come at some points in this journey of thinking that angels actually have their own agenda, because they are trying to help humanity and help us be more inspired and more connected to awareness and to love and all of those things. And so it does get a little bit muddied as you go through it, I think, don't you, Timothy? Because as just an individual person or people, we're all sort of experiencing our own reality. It's like whatever anybody tells me happened to them, I believe them, because it is what happened to them. It's what they saw, what they felt, and what they thought. And, with all this kind of contradictory information a lot of times, especially on the Internet, it does get a little bit confusing. But you're absolutely right, and I agree with you that if people just pay attention to the here and now and take care of themselves and the ones they love and the people near their community, that's how things get solved eventually, right? So
yes, and of course it's not done overnight,
Mm-hmm. Well, people call me sometimes. Well, what can I do to help the planet? What can I want to get out there in a big way. I want to do this. I want to do. It's like, no, you need to take care of yourself. Be careful with yourself. Love yourself. Be in esteem with yourself so that you can be there for other people. And whoever you're helping along the way really does set a light. And that light just keeps running is how I see it. So
yes, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the wise advice to that person would be to take care of their ambition to start with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because ambition, of course, is terrible.
Ambition is awesome. I think people need some ambition, but the universe takes you where the universe wants you to go, or where your own soul is leading you. And to me, that's how doors open, your own intention, your own purpose in life, all of that kind of thing. But really, the real basic root of it is being really centered and thoughtful of yourself, and then you can extend it to other people, And
well, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I agree entirely. Yes, perhaps I was using the more sort of common usage of the word ambition. I personally have not found ambition of any value at all because, when I was ambitious, I wasn't that in contact with my true self. So I was ambitious for the wrong thing.
I see what you're saying.
No, I'd like to go back to the this business of whether we are programmed beings, whether we have free choice, which is so perennial. But Georgia, some time ago, wrote a bit that I thought was very helpful for me anyway. And how she put it was, and I'll paraphrase her, was that before any of us come in, there is a discussion, with our souls, if you like, and our angels, as to the path we're going to take. Now, yes. When we come in, we have always the choice to follow that path or to fall off it. Now, when we fall off it, there are consequences to falling off it. We either learn from them and we jump back on the road, or we continue to sort of rabbit around, not knowing what's going on until we have either catastrophe or we fall in love or something happens that opens our hearts and we get back on the road again. So, that's how the free choice and pre-programming thing is resolved. And it's a damn good resolution in my terms. It works for me. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Well, I think that you're correct, but I see that counsel before your soul travels back to this incredible planet, that you're rather sometimes strongly encouraged to go one way or another. I'm not convinced that it's entirely free choice. And
you mean before we come in, you mean?
Yes.
Well, yes, that's probably arguable, as to, well, I've met many people who say, no, don't put me down there, for God's sake.
Right. I mean, I cannot. People have said to me, well, you raised your hand. You wanted to come here. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Well, I was
I don't think so.
I was 2 months premature and born into a war, so,
wow.
Work that one out.
Yeah, I mean, who really chooses that exactly? I don't know.
No, I did.
I know, but you think you chose it 100%, or they encouraged you to give it a shot?
I'll have to look into that one. My conceit is that I chose it, of course, but, and I probably did because I had a rather unpleasant my previous incarnation, to put it linearly, was rather unpleasant. The end of it was rather unpleasant. I had a number of things I had to work out, so I was probably pretty anxious. You see, I guess one of the reasons, that so many extraterrestrials are interested, I was rather clear, and I answered that question. And one of the reasons so many extraterrestrials are interested in us, and why so many of us are back at this particular point, is because of these end times. It's because we are reaching this incredibly key point, and they do need a few people like us to blather on about what we know and what we've seen. It does encourage a few people.
Mm-hmm. No, interesting.
And, what's the end game here? You see, this is my question, because I'm looking at all of this from a certain perspective where I'm seeing that, rebellion's not a bad thing. I mean, in this country, we rebelled against the English, and we got our independence. And I don't think anybody would argue with me that that was a good thing. So there's something to be said for rebellion, that it's healthy, it's honest. When there's tyranny involved, you have to stand up to it and get your independence. So here's my question, is the end game that we maintain our individuality, but yet we still feel connected to the whole? Is that the end game? Is that what we're working towards, is preserving both?
Sorry, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Sorry, we dropped out again. I'm sorry. I think
it's like, is that the end game? Is that we're trying to do two things at the same time that seem like they are absolutely against each other, but they're not. Preserving our individuality, so we preserve our own personality, our individuality, yet we are connected to God, to the whole, to the spirit, however, whatever anybody wants to call it. I mean, I'm just saying that maybe these two things are supposed to be done together.
Yes,
it's not one or the other.
No, you're absolutely right. Of course, you're completely correct. And it happens, as I say, it doesn't happen as a sort of a universal wash. Suddenly everybody changes and get.
Timothy?
Connection.
In my terms, it's moving.
Your connection faded again. Yeah.
Yes. I think part of the revelation that and here again, as I say, it's very hard to sort of guess, a revelation, because they are by definition unguessable. But I would say would be the revelation that we, as you say, we really did serve the universe. Right? These haven't been 200 and 3,000 years of awfulness, of failure, of disaster. They have been a setup, if you like, for Jesus to be able to have something substantial to be forgiving and to be merciful about. Because forgiveness and mercy is very, very central to this particular part of the universe. Each part of the universe has something, that they focus on. This area is focused on forgiveness and mercy. Now, we have, in a sense, the God of this little bit of the universe. He has to have something substantial to be merciful and forgiving about. If he's going to mean anything, he can't say, I forgive you for stealing, the breakfast. That doesn't count for much. But forgiving Lucifer and Satan, that's showing something. And, of course, he's demonstrating for the entire of his universe. It's not just this planet he's demonstrating. He's demonstrating for the other 999,999 planets over which he is officiate, So it's a very big, it's a very enormous and very complex. And I am a little wary, I must say, of overloading your poor audience, who I imagine are down to about 3 people by now, because you're both so interesting and kind of demand intelligent responses. And I'm sorry if I have overloaded the situation.
You're not overloading me.
No,
I'm aware of that. That's part of the problem.
This is what we want to bring to our audience, is this incredible information and different ways of thinking about all of this, so that it's not just what we've been taught. I mean, it's part of our mission, I think. Helene and I both feel that we want to bring these types of things to people so people can have something to reflect on and maybe see it from a different perspective.
Yes, and also to know that these things are experientially available. We're not reliant on priests and other people's dictums. We have God inside us, and it takes some time to cut through the trees to get to it, but it's there. And I think, that for me is the biggest demonstration that I can make in my life, is it's just that. This is where this God has led me after sort of 40 years of being consciously sort of dancing with her.
We have a question here. Someone is asking if you know anything about Lemuria and fallen angels.
Yes. Put it this way, Georgia has written quite a lot about Lemuria, and they're only marginally associated with the fallen angels. Lemuria was basically the brainchild of a subgroup that broke away from that group I was talking about originally, the prince and the prince's staff. It was divided into a number of different very remarkable beings. And a couple of them broke away soon after the rebellion and crossed basically along the Silk Road and down through that area of Asia. And because one of these entities had previous experience in their vimanas, in their flying ships, when they originally came here, and they basically cataloged the planet, he knew that there were this large set of islands in the Pacific. And so they basically started Lemuria at about some 80,000 years BC. And it sort of, they basically sort of, just brought people across from the mainland. Lemuria was an enormously large series of islands. It wasn't a continent by any means. And you can kind of understand it if you follow the sort of geology of that area of the Pacific. There's a whole series of earthquake sort of zones and area around there, and that's really what swallowed Lemuria in the end with the earth movements and stuff like that. They went back into the earth. But Lemuria flourished. I mean, it was really a very wonderful and sophisticated society. And it really flourished between about 60,000 and started collapsing at around 33,000. Was pretty much all gone by 20,000. But they had quite an influence on Atlantis, later Atlantis as well, the rebel aspect. So maybe your inquiry, the person who was inquiring, was thinking about that, because the people who got out of Atlantis, out of Lemuria, because Lemuria sunk, and they ended up distrusting the gods because they'd been persuaded to believe in the Father, the Son, and Mother Earth. Which was already a distillation of what they should be believing in, which was the Father God, the eternal Father God. But the Father God is very difficult for a primitive society to deal with. As we know, it's difficult for our society to deal with the idea of the eternal God. I mean, when George Bush says, God told me to do this, I mean, did he really? I mean, it was one of those sort of situations.
Yeah.
So, Lemuria basically flourished. But it lost its religion, and so when the guys, managed to get over to Atlantis, they didn't bring the good news with them. And Atlantis wasn't a happy situation.
Mm-hmm. No. I have a question for you, but I would like to take another break right now, Timothy, and tell the audience we'll be back in just a few moments. Everybody stay tuned.
property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying tuned. And we are speaking with Timothy Wyllie this evening. And it is a discussion that I'm going to be thinking about for a very long time. So,
yeah, Patricia too, yeah.
Oh, you came back. Okay,
Technical
good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Timothy can be found at timothywyllie.com. That's Wyllie. In his books, Revolt of the Rebel Angels and Confessions of a Rebel Angel, as well as his other books, are on Amazon.com. Wow. It's really a very deep discussion we're having with Timothy. And
I am loving it. It's great.
I love it, yeah. I have a question, though. One of the things I've heard from angels over the years, and they've given me a couple dissertations on it, which I have to say my mind is I have a small brain, so some of it I can't really, wrap my mind around. But one of the things they've said to me over and over is that there were many, many, many civilizations and cultures here long before we have record of recorded history. So you were talking about Lemuria before the break, Timothy, and I believe that that's true. But I'm wondering if you have any kind of comment on why science or historians don't really see that. I mean, even you were talking about this newly discovered area in Ecuador, Patricia, where they're finding ancient, I picked it up as really ancient structure things. Why is it so hard for our society to accept that the wisdom that was on the earth before what we recognize as modern recorded history actually existed?
I think it's probably vanity as much as anything else. I think every culture probably likes to think of itself as being the sort of summit of the line. I mean, of course, there are all sorts of other sort of things like being an academic and being frozen out if you start talking about anything like this. So there are a number of things, but no, it is breaking open. I mean, one of the wonderful things that has happened with the invention of the underwater equipment now are these various different cities that are showing up underwater off India, the western coast of India, northwestern coast of India, in Japan, and a lot of them around the east coast of, or the west coast, I should say, of South America as well. Yeah. So I mean, we really only go back, I don't know, at the most 10 or 12,000 years, which is really, a pinprick of what's really been going on, and not much really, can sustain, gravity and all the sort of conditions that stuff has to undergo. Metal erodes. Not much continues that much, more than sort of 40,000 years. So it's very difficult. Yeah. Go on.
Well, if I can bring that up to present time, there are so many people that wrap their minds around the worry of end times. What's going to happen? Is everything collapsing around me? Am I going to die tomorrow? They get very ingrained in this kind of fear. And I'm wondering if you have any specific prophecy as how you see this turning out over the next 50 years or so.
Well, yes. I mean, just speaking, directly to it, what's really going on is the fear is not an external fear. The fear is inside them, and is being activated by, what can be interpreted as the external fear. I mean, if one actually tunes in, of course, there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of at all, because it's all in God's hands. It's all perfectly fine. So all really that person needs to come to terms with.
Oops. We lost him again for a minute.
And when they've dealt with them, and when they become, as I say, fearless, which is not an impossibility at all, one gets rid of the fears. One can be sensible. One could avoid, obvious things that are going to hurt one. But being fearless is you can then see how, as I said, the world seems to be swimming in the sea of fear, and you can walk between the bullets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But how do you see it turning out for this planet over the next 50 years? Do you have an idea of what might be coming?
Well, that goes back to this, the great show. That's my fundamental optimism, is that we are moving irrevocably towards a singularity, something which has never happened and will never happen again. And as I say, I'd like to think it's going to happen in our own lifetimes, but there again, there isn't a generation of seers who hasn't thought it's going to happen in his own lifetime or her own lifetime. So that may be a delusion. But as I say, there are two ways of looking at it. And one way is that how bad does it need to get before they say, okay, enough's enough, and the other way of looking at it is, well, it's really in their time. It's fruitless to try and second guess it. But I mean, getting back to the situation of why we have so much disturbance and why we have so much, to go back to the word badness, that we seem to be surrounded with bad ideas, bad decisions, bad choices. It's really people who are, and a lot of these people in very high places are of the same ilk as many of us. I mean, they are rebel angels, who are living out their destiny as human beings, and quite a lot of them have got quite a lot of destiny to work out. When they take on a very senior place, it's a lot is demanded of them, and quite often, they don't make it in this incarnation. Mm-hmm. There are an awful lot of incarnations one has to go through. And quite a lot of people aren't that advanced in their incarnations, They're more animal than they are human in some ways. I mean, it's an awful thing to say, but the animal consciousness, reactors, somebody says something nasty about me, I react with hatred, That's the animal. That's not the human.
Do you think that there are a lot of souls here walking as humans whose souls really aren't human, who have really spent a lot of time somewhere else, in another planet, in another kind of existence?
I can't speak for that kind of sort of intervention. It's very minor, and I know that because it's so difficult to be a walk-in. I don't know if you've ever come across walk-ins or whether you walk-ins yourselves, but it takes a long time to really accustom oneself to, being in a human body, as I was saying earlier. So there's not an awful lot of them around. I mean, basically, we're all souls, dressed in human bodies. Mm-hmm. Some of us may have angelic backgrounds, heritages, and some of us may be first-timers. I mean, normal human beings, the majority of human beings on this planet are first-timers. They haven't been incarnated before. They start their eternal lives here. But because this is such a troubled and difficult planet, there are a great many of, incarnate rebel angels who are working out their own karma, if you like, and ending up by, being really helpful.
Well, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Wow. Well, we have a question today because Becky Andreasen is calling in, so let's say hello to Becky.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, girls. Hi. I have a question for Timothy, but first I want to say I'm going to miss listening to you, Helene. I love you, and I want to say goodbye for your last show tonight.
Oh, thank you. You're going to be awesome. You're going to be awesome next week, Becky. It'll be great. You'll really love it.
Thank you. I am so looking forward to and excited about filling your shoes.
Oh.
Patricia.
That's great.
And now I'd like to ask my question. To Timothy. Hi, Timothy. How are you?
Hi, Media. Hi. How are you? May I ask you? The Andreasen name is a well-known one in the UFO community. Are you at all patched into that?
Yes, I am the daughter of Betty Andreasen.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful! Oh,
yes, thank you.
Oh, I loved that work. I was so touched by it, and it touched so many deep places in myself when I read it.
Oh, that's precious. Thank you, and I'm glad it did. More people with these types of experiences and that work with ETs and the angels really need to get it out there in the world so that people can understand and it touch their lives, and that will bring their vibrations up higher, won't it?
Oh, it will indeed.
Yes. My question that I'd like to ask you is, how would a person know if they were a fallen angel? Is there telltale signs?
What a good question. Well, yes, there are a great deal of them, as a matter of fact. Most have very difficult childhoods. Right? Most find themselves somehow very oddly different from their brothers and sisters, from their parents if they have them. Many lose a parent when they're very young. Many have to really fight difficult things like dyslexia. Many get bent out of shape, as they grow up, as they try and be like other people. Many of them are gay. Many of them feel, like outlaws.
There's different things.
Yes, it's a whole series of different things.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, if you are one of these entities, you will know very well how different you are from almost everybody you meet. And you will often meet one or two people as you grow up who will be absolutely key, who will be the one person who understands you. And they will also have been sort of brought into your life and they will also very often be a rebel angel. There are about 120 million of us down here at this point, and I'm told more coming in every day. And this has been a real explosion since the last World War.
That is amazing. And are you a fallen angel?
Yes.
You are? Wow. That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, Becky.
Yeah, great question, Becky.
Girls. I'm enjoying the show, and I'm really enjoying Timothy, too. This is fascinating.
It is.
Yes.
Thank you, Becky. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye, girls. Bye, Timothy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
So I have a follow-up question to what Becky just brought up, and that is, if I ask about someone's soul or the journey of their soul, without going into the Akashic records or, accessing any other information other than guides, I have to tell you that I have never once heard that someone is a fallen angel, and I believe from what you just said that I've probably met several of them over the years. And so would that information be something that they wouldn't tell me?
Are you talking about, you're talking with the person's soul, or are you talking with the person?
Yeah,
the person's
I'm talking with the person. They have questions about why they're so different from everybody else.
Okay.
All
right.
Would guides not disclose that to me, or is that something I should specifically ask?
No, it would be something they were consciously unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
I'm talking to my guides, asking about another person's soul, and they have never disclosed to me that someone is a fallen angel. But from what you're telling me and what you just described, it seems as though I've probably met several of them over the years, but my guides will never tell me that someone is a fallen angel. I've never heard that.
No,
they keep that information to themselves.
Yes, it falls under need to know category.
Okay.
You see, the reason we're here is not to parade around, and I was embarrassed when she asked me whether I was one, because it's not something I generally go around announcing. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. It's not an embarrassment, as a matter of fact. But the reason we're here is to live the life of human beings. It's actually it's an upgrade, if you like, because we become part of this, what's called the mortal ascension. We move up. Angels are created for their functions. They're stationary beings. They don't get around. They're stuck in their roles for millions of years. We go up. We get to hang out with God. We get to do the whole trip. So it's a major, major thing to become a human being. And one of the things is there have been flashes. You can see it in some of the poets' work, for instance, that yes, there was a sort of slight understanding that somebody was a sort of an angel. But the idea of being a fallen angel is something so scary, I think, for many people who are being bathed in sort of normal tradition understanding of these things, that nobody wants to come out and say, "No, I'm a fallen angel."
I actually had someone ask me recently because they heard your last show. And I did not get an answer. Yes.
Right.
Ask your guides if I am a fallen angel. It was a very specific question, and they wouldn't answer me.
I should hope not. No, it's never. It's not something one should ever tell anybody. It's something that we discover when we're ready for it. Because, as I say, we're here to live the life of human beings. It's very easy if you haven't actually reached a point where you kind of. It took me 20 years to come to terms with this, by the way. It wasn't something that. It's not a light thing. But if somebody, suddenly thought, I'm going to put on I'm going to pretend to be a fallen angel or something like that, awful things can come out of that. Bad for them, bad for everybody. So, I'm kind of taking a slight risk because I'm talking complexly, which means a lot of people do get to turn off, and that's fine. My books aren't for everybody. But as you say, those who are ready to hear do hear. And as the other person mentioned, it really does help because it opens up possibility. There's a possibility of being able to do these things for yourself. You see, that's what I mean. You know, I'm not putting you down in any sense as being, a counselor, but my advice would be, if people do ask on that sort of level, you know, I'm glad that your guides, you know, don't put you up the river on that one. Good, you've got some good ones there.
No, it's fascinating to me. I mean, it's just an amazing learning.
Well, it explains
here.
an awful lot. It really does explain an awful lot. That's what interests me. I mean, it is, as I say, it's just my best idea so far. It's just the ones that seem to work for me. I'm not saying this is the ultimate truth or this is the way it is. This is just what I found to be able to work, and I'm fascinated when other people say, "Ooh, boy, yeah, that works for me too," you know.
Mm-hmm. Really
and again, we've been taught so much judgmental stuff about the term fallen angel. I mean, it's supposedly something really bad. So I can see where your guys wouldn't want to necessarily reveal that due to the judgment we have.
Well, actually, you know, just from what you said, Timothy gave me a very, very deep understanding of this particular client and why there was no answer for him.
Yes,
I understand now. Yeah.
No, it is a very fundamental aspect of the self, and it brings up an awful lot that needs to be faced and needs to be dealt with. You know, because once you say, well, okay, I am that. Well, how did I become that? You know, what were the decisions I took? What were the choices I made? You know, it opens up a whole other line of self-understanding or potential self-understanding. Mm-hmm. And it can be heavy.
That's true. Yeah. It's true. It's very true. Well, this is just incredible information. I give you so much credit for the books that you've written. They're obviously going to be controversial to some people, but as a history of the planet and all that's gone on, it's just remarkable, isn't it, Patricia?
Well, yes, and Timothy's books are beautifully written. I mean, really, Timothy, you've gotten some great reviews, and they're well-deserved, because the books are easy to read. They're not so complex that nobody can understand them, or they're so above everybody's normal way of thinking. Not at all. I mean, you've woven in your personal journey with these esoteric experiences and these experiences of a being that has a whole different perspective on life on this planet. And again, I love your books. I mean, they're easy to read. So I just wanted to reassure everybody they're not above anybody's head. They really are written from a personal perspective. So we can relate. I mean, I can relate to a number of the things that you went through, you know, as a child, as a young adult, and the choices you made, the consequences you faced. We can all relate to that.
Well, thank you. That's very kind affirmation. And yes, of course, it is much easier in a book because, you know, one can sort of take one's time, one can space stuff out, one can, you know, work with anecdote and experience in a way that, you know, in a conversation like we're having now, so much has to be compressed into such a short time. You know, it's like trying to visit too many different countries, you know, in the same trip. You know, by the time you've gotten to the third country, you've forgotten what happened to you in the first country. So, you know, we have to take it bit by bit. And, yeah, I do write my books from a personal, experiential point of view. They come from my experience, not from book learning or stuff like that. I test stuff, you know. I throw myself in. I say, okay, does this work, you know. I threw myself in. I said, okay, you know, are dolphins clever enough to rescue me if I put myself into an impossible situation? I put myself into an impossible situation, and the dolphins rescued me. You know, so I got to learn about dolphins. So
really?
You know, you throw yourself into
Talk about that. Talk about that for a minute, because I'm fascinated by dolphin energy.
Well, I had been in Florida, and I'd spent about 10 days swimming with these dolphins, coastal dolphins. And,
wild
you know,
dolphins we're talking about, not
dolphins,
Disney,
yes.
right?
It was a time before they had put all those laws out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they'd gotten to know me, and I'd gotten to know them. And, of course, I was thinking that, I would, you know, answer all these clever questions. And, you know, I had 5 questions in my mind that I had kept. Questions like, you know, how do you pass information through the generations and things like that. And they had, after about a day and a half or so, I realized that they were testing me. I wasn't testing them. They were testing me. And, of course, through this, I discovered the answers to the first 4 questions. I mean, the answer to, for instance, how do they convey information through the generations, is that they, through their sonar, very, very focused sonar rays, they're able to place sonic holograms into the structure of certain shells. Right? So when the shells grow, the information doesn't become distorted. And other dolphins come along, they ping that with the same thing, and they get the information back. So that's what they gave me. Now, we were just about leaving. I think we at the end of our 10 days there. And my 5th question we've heard about UFOs going in and out of the water. What do you know about UFOs? And they hadn't answered that one. And we were in our apartment, I think we were going to leave the next day or a couple of days later. And my girlfriend was at the window. She said, "Hey, look at that." And there was this, basically, I think for a 25-minute display by these UFOs. It's wonderful.
Wow.
But at some point in all this, I got really frustrated because the dolphins would put me through all this, everything like that, but they wouldn't come really close to me. And I wanted to touch a dolphin. I'd never touched a dolphin. I really wanted to touch one. So I just got fed. I said, all right, okay. I heard about this guy in a Rasta man who used to swim out as far as he could every day, right out in the ocean until he couldn't swim anymore, and then he turned back. I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. I wonder if dolphins helped him out on that one. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I went down, and there was a storm coming up, I remember, that afternoon. And I'm not a very strong swimmer, so out I went, swim, on and on, oh, my back, oh, goodness me. Then I would look back, and I could see the place I lived was like a tiny little matchbox on the horizon. And I said, oh, and then my arm started to seize out, then I got a cramp in my leg, and I started swallowing water, and I couldn't go any further, and I was absolutely exhausted. I thought, I'm going to die. I mean, what an absurd thing to do. I must be out of my mind. I must be absolutely crazy. And then I thought of how crazy I was. I gradually see a little bit of energy started coming back to me. I thought, damn dolphins. I use far stronger words than that, but damn dolphins. I do this, I put my life on the line, and they don't rescue me. So swimming back. Oh my God, swim. Back, I pull myself up on the shore. I get up into my, whatever it was, 5th floor apartment, and I shared with my girlfriend, who was looking at me all the time with binoculars. And I came and I did a bloody dolphin thing, and blah, blah, blah. She said, you didn't see them? And I said, what do you mean? She said, they were swimming all around you all the time. They were swimming around you all the time.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it makes me almost weep. My stupidity and the glory of it. So, yeah. That's how you discover dolphins are intelligent.
Yeah. Wow.
A fool like
Did they tell you anything about mermaids?
No, they didn't tell me anything about mermaids. Yeah. Although I very much enjoyed that show they did, that thing they did on one of those channels where they persuaded everybody they were real mermaids. They were wonderful. Did you ever see that? It's one of those serious channels.
Yeah, I saw it.
It caused quite a kerfuffle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, nothing about mermaids.
Dolphins are enormously communicative. They really like to talk. And,
they've got a lot to say.
Yeah.
Yes, they have. Do you know about the, that whole Nomo and the Sirius connection with the dolphins? You aware of all that?
I am aware of it. I don't know it well, but I am aware of it, yes. Yeah.
No, it's a very interesting connection. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
True?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
Are the UFOs that you see in the water Syrians, or?
Well, everybody and their chum is here. I mean, there could be anybody at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Syrians have had quite a lot of association with us, as the Pleiadians have as well.
Yes. Pleiadians too. I see them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not in body, just in spirit, energetically, I should say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Their teacher planet. Is, I think they call it a half a second different from us. They come here for their teaching planet. So that's why they're around a lot. A lot of spiritual workers or psychics, whatever you want to call it. They do spend a lot of time communicating with Pleiadians. Yeah. Yes, and there are a lot of Pleiadians down here. Yeah.
Are they walking among us, you mean, or just energetically visiting?
Walking among us.
Mm-hmm.
Walking among us. They're not dissimilar. But there again, it's not easy for them. I mean, they are a much purer stock than we are.
Yes.
It's not pleasant for them. It's why they keep themselves. What do they do? But yes, I mean.
So when you say that they're walking, you mean that their souls were born here, or they're actually walk-ins who are appearing as a physical human body?
Well, there are three levels of it. One level is a Pleiadian, for instance, who would make the choice to incarnate here as a human being. But they would have the knowledge of the Pleiadian. They would come to that knowledge. It wouldn't be occluded from them. There would be the walk-ins, and Pleiadian walk-ins I think are fairly rare. I haven't come across them that much. Would be the normal walk-in shtick, which is basically to take over a body of a human being who had basically used it up, or done whatever. And there's especially for some walk-ins, it's a really tough job because you have to work off the karma of the person you've taken it over. And that often involves a lot of drinking and drugs and stuff. And then there is the extraterrestrials who are very similar to us. I mean, I met my first extraterrestrial I met. Looked like a perfectly normal human being.
So they look like us.
A lot of them do, yeah. We have the illusion, the spider things like that. But in fact, we're really, the best way of looking at it is that we're really one very large family. In a sense, we're all sons of God, in that sense.
Well,
so there are much more similarities. I mean, some are taller, some are shorter. Some have 3 eyes rather than 2. But basically, we're all pretty much, pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Pleiadians I've seen energetically that appear in my third eye look very human. And so you're saying some of them actually come onto the planet and then walk among us at that level.
Well, yes. The Pleiadians, in terms of the larger framework, aren't that high beings, but they are, the fifth, probably fourth or fifth dimensional.
No, they're spiritually more evolved, yeah.
Yeah, and also physically as well. I mean, their bodies are more evolved as well. So they have to downstep to come into our reality. They have to come down through the fourth dimension into the third density to be here.
Mm-hmm. So when they walk onto the planet like that in a physical form, it must be very difficult for them.
Well, it is. It's very difficult for them. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why it's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
And why they're very brave to do it.
Yeah. Fascinating. So you met one, you said, a moment ago, or was that a different?
The first one I met, over time, a few. The first one I met, yes, was when I was in my early 20s, and really living in London and really worried about the bomb and extinction. I mean, really, it was different in America because, you were quite a long way from it. And also, we knew what bombs did, We didn't know what atomic bombs did. We knew what normal bombs did, and they were bad enough. So we had absolutely no doubt that we were going to, be bombed, in 1963 or 1964. It was terrible. So there I was walking down the street, really overshadowed with these awful thoughts. And I bumped into this lad, coming towards me. And we did that little dance you do, you first, going from side to side. And while we were doing that, he looked me right in the eye and he said, we can take those, we can knock those rockets out of the sky just like that. And he snapped his fingers. And in that moment, I got the gestalt. I knew that he knew what he was talking about. I knew he was an extraterrestrial. I knew that he had picked up my dreadful sort of overshadowed thought process, and telepathically he told me exactly what I needed to know. And I held that thought for years and years, while the American people were, the government and the army were, denying the existence of everything. And then recently we hear, of course, that UFOs were quite often seen over silos, turning them off and doing various different things. And the fact that we hadn't bombed ourselves in 50 years, for human beings, I mean, that's really quite a remarkable record.
It is.
Something else was going on with those lost bombs, those bombs they can't find,
Oh, what a fascinating evening. Amazing, isn't it, Patricia?
It is lovely.
This has been just great, Timothy. Another wonderful evening, well spent with you. And again, for our audience, please do go to Amazon.com. Take a look at Timothy's books there. They're all excellent. I highly recommend them. And you'll get even more information than what you had this evening. So this has just been wonderful, Timothy. Thank you.
I'm so pleased. Thank you. And also, I should just say, that my book, starting with the first one, which I wrote in 1984, they really do take a very specific trip that allowed all these various different openings to happen. So if somebody has the choice and would like to do that, it's actually quite a nice thing to just go through the books. I think there's sort of 7 or 8 of them now. And each one sort of is a specific sort of opening. So anyway, that's my best shot. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. I really do love you guys. Wonderful
thank you.
Thanks.
The feeling is mutual, right, Helene?
It is. It absolutely is, Timothy. Wishing you every single blessing. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
And let's speak again when some other books, exude out of me.
Yes.
Love
I'll
to.
be continuing on with Becky, who you met this evening, and please keep us posted. We'll have you back.
Well, no, I'm thrilled. I mean, do you know about her mother's story and everything?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
I've known Betty for many, many years, so yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. Oh,
and
wonderful.
we're hoping that the Andreasen Affair, the original book, will be republished soon. So it's been out of print for a little while, and hopefully it'll be coming back to the public again. And yes, I was very interested to hear that you felt touched by that book.
Oh, yes. Oh, very much so. And it, on one level, it was so unlikely. There's a very unlikelihood, which I recognized from my own unlikely experiences, was the thing that drew me into the reality of it.
How interesting, yes.
Exactly opposite of what the rational mind would think.
Yes. No, that was a milestone, that book, an absolute milestone.
Very brave, too. Yep.
So, yes, we'd love to have you back on. So just, keep me posted, please, on any new books that you have coming out, any new thought processes that you have happening, because it's all fascinating, and I know our audience really loves it, too. So, great.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Thank you so much. Good. I have a new one coming out next year.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Good night, Timothy.
Good night, Timothy.
Good night, my dear. Many blessings to you both, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What a fabulous guy.
Tremendous. And I'm so glad we were able to have him here for your very last show, Helene. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe it. What a journey.
Becky's going to be a fabulous co-host for you, and everything will go well.
It will be great. I know.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed all my shows, all my time with you here on the show, and I just want to say thank you for everything you've done to make the show so successful. And I know everybody loves listening to you and listening to the show, that we have a lot of loyal people in our audience, and I know I've been getting emails all day saying, we're going to miss Helene, and I'm like,
that's sweet. I'm so touched by that. I really am. That's just lovely, lovely, and I'm sorry that I have to pull back from some things that I'm working with right now because there just isn't enough time for us humans, Patricia.
I know, and I think, too, for our audience, just to let everybody know, there's a lot of work that goes into every single show every week. It is not just us getting together and talking on the radio. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of work in booking these wonderful guests and, getting them to be able to come on the show, as well as reading their material and getting the website done and all of those things that we have to do. So there's a lot involved, and we've been working together on this since mid-March. And just so you know, as a magical number, we just put out our 33rd newsletter. So the magical master number 33 came up today for our newsletter.
Oh, that's awesome. And you do a beautiful, beautiful newsletter, Patricia. It's just lovely.
Thanks.
Everybody runs over to Supernatural Girlz and signs up. Yeah.
Yes, and again, to continue to reach you for classes and individual readings, Helene at angelslighthouse.com. So everybody make sure you're signed up on Helene's website, too, so that you stay in touch with her for all of the classes and events that she has coming up.
Well, this is good night, Patricia. I love you.
I know. Oh, my gosh. Well, good night, Helene, and thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you, Patricia. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.